So today is your first day, right? So I haven't seen you earlier. Is it?
I came for the previous class, sir.
You were there, right?
Yes, for the June to September one, I was there.
Okay. So there you
No,
have
I didn't.
completed some, but you haven't you sat for the exam?
No, sir. I did other two subjects this time, but I couldn't do this one. So I'm
Okay,
planning to do this one this time.
very good. So far, actually, what we have done, Sanjeev, is like we have started initial sessions like introduction to credit, and then SME banking, and then sources of financing and microfinancing we have completed. So in addition, actually, we have done the break-even analysis. And last week we started working capital, and yeah, so we have completed part of the working capital, and then we have one more area to complete today. So let's once others join, so let's continue on that. Have you
Okay.
got the tudes or the
Yes,
presentation?
sir. Yes. I
Right.
took the print
Okay.
out.
I think since that this is kind of a second time, you might not have any bigger issues on what we have, the areas what we have done, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Just to give a brief, like what we have done last week, like is actually in terms of working capital, we basically discussed. Good morning, Malaka. So we discussed something about what is working capital, the importance of working capital, items of working capital, and then we discussed something like initial sort of terminology in terms of what is gross working capital, net working capital, and then we went on to discuss like what is cash cycle, operating cycle. Then also we did a kind of exercise to compute operating cycle and cash cycle. So while doing so, this operating and cash cycle, so we computed the stock turnover period, debtors turnover period, and creditors turnover period. So that's what we initially did. Then actually we attempted a kind of a question where so we got like kind of some ratios, as I was telling you, stock turnover period and debtors turnover period and creditors period. So by those using those things, and then we did the kind of a computation of stock turnover period, debtors turnover period, and creditors turnover period. And then we took a time to discuss. Good morning, Oshani. We took a time to discuss about in a given set of question, how to interpret the kind of a given ratio, and then so we give a kind of 2-3 lines about in a kind of given scenario how we are going to interpret and what's like working capital position of a company. So those what we have been discussed during last week. Ocean, actually you were not there, and I was just briefing what we have done last week. So depending on today's time, so since Sanjeev and you are not there, and Sanjeev is like onboarding today after a couple of break. So if we have time, so I'll get a kind of 10-15 minutes at the end of the session, subject to others' concurrence, to brief you what we have done last week and previous week. So then we continue from what we have stopped there. So today, actually, I wanted to discuss about how to, forecast, like, because in a working capital, so we have two things in a working capital, like especially if it is a ongoing company, then we try to get some, working capital position, and we try to compute some ratios, and then see what is the working capital status in a given scenario. Especially in the project financing, what we need to do additionally is, let's say if the company is new, right? If they want to start it, the business for next 4-5 years, then what happens is we need to do a kind of projection on working capital. So that is not easy, like what we have done last week, because if we have balance sheet numbers, if we have P&L numbers, then it is easy for us to compute this cash conversion cycle and the operating cycle. But when come to the projection, it is because everything is new, so you try to estimate what is our requirement, right? So what could be my debtors, what could be my stocks, what could be my creditors like. So you need to do some estimation. That is bit of kind of a extra exercise we need to do. So today what we are trying to, actually we have stopped those things we're not doing, we did not do last time due to lack of time, and then today we are planning to start it 10. So we'll continue with the kind of a question, right? Dilanja, good morning. Join. Right. So I think this is the question we have done it last time. So again, if I have kind of a time, so we'll take maybe 5-10 minutes at the end of the session to brief it, because two of you were not there, right? So this is estimation of working capital. This is something, as I was telling, say you are going to start a business, and then you see this is my requirement of fixed capital, like capital items like land, building, machinery, vehicle, and all those things. And also now you have to assume this is my kind of working capital requirement for next 2 years or 3 years. So in order to do that, so you need to estimate current assets and current liabilities, right? Now early occasions we need not to do estimation, because we have some ratios and we have some existing P&L and balance sheet numbers. So just you need to substitute those numbers to get the figures. That's what we basically did it last week. But here you need to assume and you need to estimate for future. That is estimation of current asset and estimation of current liabilities. So this is the kind of a format that you need to use. So the first one is cash and bank balances. Like let's say in a given scenario, they say, so I am keeping this much of cash and bank balances. This is one of the working capital items. So this is X number. Then you have inventories. It could be raw material, it could be WIP, it could be finished goods. Right? They say raw material is like 1 month stock like, and WIP is this much, finished goods of this much. So that consists of how much inventories that I am keeping for my future working capital. Then data is another item that we need to keep it for future. So estimate. So they say 10% of sales, right? Maybe 2 months credit line. So they say how that you have to keep your basis. So if you know the cash, if you know the stocks, if you don't know the debtors, then you have your current asset requirement. Similarly, you have current liability requirement also, where creditors, wages, overheads, and like that. So if you can estimate current assets, if you can estimate current liabilities, then the difference between assets minus liability could be a net working capital, right? So then if you know that, again, since this is a kind of estimation for the future, they might say a 10% of contingency margin, because since estimation that we can't exactly say this is correct or this is like a correct figure. So we'll have some provision like a 5% or 10% on top of that. So with that we say this is my average working capital requirement for future. Hope that you get what this estimation is, because if you are going to start a business, if you are going to start let's say now in more practical, we say we are going to start with say what do you call hotel, right? In a hotel that you say this is land cost, building cost, whatever other machinery, and this infrastructure, so landscaping, so everything. So now this is like the cost that I am planning to do it. Again, that you need to have some working capital requirement for the hotel also, right? For that you can't just assume say 2 million or 3 million rupees. So but you have to come up with the kind of argument, say, so I am keeping this much of stock, this much of debtors, this much of creditors. There are some basis for that. That's what I'll show with the example. So when you say that basis, then you can say to banks, my working capital requirement is 5 million or 7 million. So then my total cost is capex, working capital. This is the total cost. So I am putting this much, and banks, I require this much. So that's how the estimation of working capital is important in case of a project, right? So estimation format is like this. So you have to have estimation of this current assets, current liabilities, difference between the average working capital, right? So this is a kind of a sum that we need to do. Here it's a XYZ company sells goods a part of cost of production. Following are the annual figures. So sales 1.8 million, material 450, wages 360, manufacturing expenses 480, admin expenses 120, sales promotion expenses 60,000. So that is for yearly estimation, right? Because if we are going to do it, so this is my sales for next year. So material might be around this much. So again, within brackets you can see, so 2 months credit. Sales, you get 2 months credit within brackets. Material consumed, 1 month lag in payment. Wages, 1 month lag. Manufacturing, 1 month lag. Admin, 1 month lag. Sales promotion, paid partly in advance. So what exactly tells the within brackets? It is about your working capital basis. So when you say sales, you put 1.8 million. That's a per annum requirement, per annum figure, and within brackets, you 2 months credit. It tells you how much your data component. You getting my point? So the within brackets give you a kind of indication how we are going to estimate your working capital for future, right? In addition, company keeps 1 month stock of RM finished goods. Also keeps 100,000 in cash. Required to estimate the working capital requirement of the company, assuming 10% safety margin. That's a contingency margin also they have given. And then they say 1 month stock of raw material, 1 month stock of finished goods. So they say they want to keep your current assets. A raw material could be like 1 month stock. So here we know stock for yearly requirement is 450,000. And they kept 1 month. So 450,000 divided by 12 into 1. Basically, we'll say 1 month requirement. Right. Hope you got the question correct. Let me have any issues on the question itself before moving to the computation. Any issue in understanding the question? Dilanja, Malaka? Any issues in the question? Basically, they have given some basis for us to project the requirement. Right, hope you are okay with that. So we'll move with the requirement. Now we need to do a, say, forecast. When you do a forecast, as per the earlier format, we need to see what is my stocks, what is my debtors, what is my cash balances, what is my prepayment. Those are current asset items. So now we need to compute those things using these numbers, right? So the first one is cash and bank balances. So how much the cash and bank balances here? Is basically, it's given, it's 100,000, right? Because in our format, so cash and bank balances, so we take as per the basis, they are willing to keep cash and bank balances 100,000. So cash is 100,000. Next item, prepaid expenses. So prepaid expenses, how much? Sales promotion expenses is 60,000 per annum. But we paid quarterly in advance. So how much we paid in advance? 1/4 that, 1/4 of that. So 60,000 divided by 4 is at any given time, which is in an advance payment. Again, it's your current assets because you have paid upfront. It's a prepaid expense. So cash 100,000, prepaid expense of sales promotion is 15,000. Hope that you have okay with that two component. Any issues? So that is cash 100,000, prepaid 15,000. Then we go to the inventory. So inventory, how much is inventory? Inventory and finished goods are keep on 1 month stock of finished goods. So then what could be the, what is the equation? Do we know the 1 month raw material per annum raw material request? That is 450,000. So we say that we are keeping 1 month stock. 1 month stock of raw material, 1 month stock of finished goods. So that is my stock requirement because this is my yearly requirement that which I am planning to use the raw material of per annum, right? This is expense, but I will keep 1 month stock of raw material. So I'll keep 1 month stock of finished goods. So if you know the per annum requirement, so that is 450,000 divided by 12 gives you your raw material requirement. So that's what we get is 30,500. Then how we get the finished goods? How we get the finished goods? I'm using the calculator. How we got the finished goods? What is the clue there? How we are getting the finished goods there? Debtors. Debtors. Debtors, how can get the debtors? Is any clue for that? Before keeping the finished goods. So what's the debtor figure? Debtor, they have taken 300,000, right? How they have taken it? How they have taken it? Any thoughts? Dilanja? Malaka, how they have taken the debtors? They say 2 months requirement of, yes, 2 months of sales because it has been given, right? So here 1.8 million and is the per annum requirement. And if they're 2 months, that is 1.8 divided by 12 into 2. So 1.8 divided by 12 into 2. That's 300,000, right? So I don't think there is an issue in computing that. But now how they have taken this finished goods? They say 117,500. How they have taken it? Any idea? Sorry. How they have taken it? Any thoughts? Any thoughts? Is there any kind of a clue that we can get here? Because if we don't have a kind of a direct clue, then we need to think about any other method of computing the finished goods. Any thoughts? How we can compute that? Now, since that there is a no direct sort of estimation given here, clue here, like sales that data it's 2 months and stocks basically it's say 1 month, right? Because raw material, yes, you can take it because it is because we have given the raw material consumption, right? Raw material consumption is given 450, just divide by 12, you can get the raw material stock. But finished goods, you can't take it that easy. Generally, how we can do, right? I'll show the computation. Maybe need some things. You can see the board, right? So here, now raw materials, you don't have issue because it's a 1 month. So this is into raw material and right, but finished goods, but you don't have any sort of easy way out. For that, what you can do is, right, before moving to the raw material, finished goods, be a total expense of raw material cost, plus there are some other cost here, just get it, material, wages, manufacturing, admin. Right. Wages, manufacturing, admin. Right? These are the 4 costs to incur to a product, or I mean to say stock item, to move to the finished goods state. Technical speaking, let's say you have some raw materials, you put wages, right? I think admin, right? I got it right. Manufacturing, admin, right? So fine. So we have raw material cost. On top of that, you put variable like direct wage kind of thing, and manufacturing again some direct variable, and some admin expenses also need in order to make this whatever raw material to WIP into finished goods state. So we can assume these are the cost items required in order to make a kind of raw material into finished goods status. So this is the total cost per year in terms of finished goods. And because since this has not been given directly, then we are assuming this type of kind of a equation. Right? We know raw material, we know this one, we know this one, then we know this one. So this is the total cost when we wanted to make something to finished good status. So how much is this? If you add up this, it comes to 140 like this. And coming to the final answer, this 450 plus 380 or 410 plus 60 also. When you add up everything, it comes 1410000. This is a per annum requirement. And then you divide it by 12. Why? It's a 1 month finished goods. Right? So it ends up with 117,500. This is the kind of the method that we need to use it. That's why I told you bit not easy compared to what we have learned last week. Everything is straightforward. But here it's not easy because you need to assume some equations. Once you do this one, and I will take you through another question which need a computation required into computation of WIP. Here WIP is 0 because it has not been given, but WIP comes, then we have another equation. So if finished goods has not been specifically mentioned, then we need to use this equation, that is raw material plus wages plus manufacturing plus admin, and then add up everything. So it's a 1 month requirement. Just to go further, right? First of all, any question on this? Dilanja, you got the concept? Malaka, Oshani, Sanjeev, any issue? I can explain it again because sometimes that we can expect this type of question. So if you do have any question, please let me know. I can explain it again. All good? Okay, Sanjeev, Malaka, Tilanja, Oshani. Right. Means how do we know 1 month for finance? Here like in the question, it mentioned the requirement is here 1 month stock of raw material and finished goods. Company keeps 1 month stock of raw material and finished goods because we are using that. The finished good requirement is 1 month. Means if we know the per annum finished good stock, finished good expenses, then we take a 1 month out of that. Even previously, what we have done here is raw material per annum expenses, we have been knowing 450,000. Then we take 1 month. If you take 2 months or whatever, 14 days, whatever, then we need the computation accordingly. Is it okay, Malaka? Because the challenge is to compute per annum requirement because it's not straightforward. If it has not been given, then we need to use this equation to compute that. So what about rest? Dilanja, you are okay? Sanjeev? Oshani? I know both of you are not there last week, but bear with me because this is a kind of a bit technical, but we need to anyway get this done. Right. So what about Oshani and Sanjeev? You are okay with that? I mean, this part? Rest we will discuss it again. Or it's not clear enough, so I can explain it again. Let me know, please. I will do, right. So basically, now in this question, we have been asked to compute current assets, current liabilities, kind of an estimation. In order to do estimation, not like previously, so we need to go item by item. So we need to compute raw material, finished goods, WIP if it is, and then prepayments under current and cash balances under current assets. Current liabilities, it may be creditors and accrued expenses or bank OD and so forth items. So when we are going to compute that, cash bank balances straightforward. Prepaid expenses, they say quarterly they are paid in advance. That's also given. Now we are coming to the raw material computation. So raw material again, they say 1 month stock of raw material. Then we think what is the per annum requirement. So luckily it has been given raw material 450,000. So 450 divided by 12, we get the raw material requirement or stock. That's done. WIP, it has not been mentioned, so we are safe. We need not to compute here. But next question, I will let you know how we are going to compute that. Then we have been asked to compute finished goods. Finished goods, they just set 1 month stock or 1 month requirement. But in order to come to 1 month requirement, then we need to know what is my per annum requirement. So in order to come to per annum requirement, I need to come up with some equation. So we assume from raw material to finished goods, there are some expenses to be added. Let's say raw material to be taken in, labor and whatever expenses you have to put it that. Then manufacturing overhead has to be put into that, and general some admin expenses also put into that. So with everything into it, it makes your raw material into finished goods status. So that is the total expenses in the value chain. So out of that, you have taken, this is my finished goods expenditure. So that's the per annum. And again, somewhere it is mentioned that is 1 month is requirement for finished goods. So if you know the per annum requirements and divide by 12, you can get the finished goods for working capital purposes. Now is it clear? So we have taken RM plus overheads plus admin plus labor wages. So totality divided by 12 because it's a 1 month. Is it okay, Sanjeev? Right. Okay. Finished goods, yes, per month. Right? Finished goods divided by 12 is the per month requirement. Right? Because it's given 1 month kind of thing. Fine. So then, before further move, what if that they asked to compute the debtors? Let's suppose here, now it's been given debtors, whatever the kind of requirement, right? If they haven't mentioned, because it's a 2 month sale credit කියලා කියලා තියෙනවා මෙතන. ඒ 2 months credit කිව්ව ගමන් then it's easy to compute that. එහෙම තිබුණ නැත්නම් direct method එකකින් compute කරන්න කිව්වොත් how can we do that? The same. Rent, wages, manufacturing and admin plus selling and distribution. What do you mean by that? So finished goods උනාට පස්සේ then you need incur another cost on that to make the finished goods into debtors. That is selling and distribution, sales discount and sales whatever sales related expenses to be added on that. If there is a no basis given, then this one plus selling and distribution expenses. ඒ ටික අරගත්තාම වෙනවා total debtor expenditure. ඊට පස්සේ අපි 1 month 2 month කියලා divide by 12 into 2 divide by 12 into 1, so we'll take that just for your information. So we'll do that kind of a sum later, but if nothing has been mentioned about the basis, then this is the method, right? So I'll move to again now based on that we know what is cash, what is prepaid expenses, inventory, WIP has not been given, finished goods 117,500, so debtors 300. That is, they say 2 months credit, right? If you go one screen up here, 1.8 is the total sales, right? So 1.8 divided by 12 into 2 is the 2 months credit is my debtor figure because it has been given. So you need not to worry very much like what I have told here, but that basically get 1.8 divided by 12 into 2, right? That's about 300,000. Just to make a kind of a comment here, there may be discrepancy in arriving these numbers. Like if you use the sales figure and get the debtor, you get one figure, but if you get the direct expenses, like what I have mentioned here, material, wages, manufacturing, admin and sales promotion expenses, you get another number for debtors. Why is it so? Is basically here when you come to the sales, there you have added some, even your profit margin might also be included here. But when you are taking the expenses, there you are not mentioning the profit margin, just like added up cost. Or another could be when you say sales, this is total sales, but we don't know what is the like credit sales out of that. Ideally, when you are computing the debtors, I mentioned last week, if you have been given the credit sales, then you have to take the credit sales in when computing the debtor figure. But if it is not mentioned, you just take total sales figure. So that is the discrepancy when you arrive in the direct and indirect method. But don't worry about that. So sometimes when you are say indirect method, that is sales is 1.8 divided by 12 into 2, it's something 300,000. But when come to the other way, material consumed, wages, manufacturing, admin and the sales promotion, you might end up with something 140,000 or 142,000, some kind of a figure. Sorry, 280,000, 285,000, not the 300 exactly. So that is because we are missing some kind of, the component in the direct and indirect methods. Right? Just wanted to, clarify your doubts. Otherwise, somebody would think about why not we getting the same answer in both direct and indirect method. So normally it is not, because the profit figure could have been included in the sales. Plus, the sales means not everything into credit basis. Part could be cash sales also. When you are computing the data, actual the data you have to take is as credit sales and then do the computation, right? But here we don't want to be very much worried because it says 2 months credit of the sale. So 1.8 divided by 12 into 2, which gives you the data figure. That's a 300,000. So having everything computed, then we know total current assets is 570,000. Right. Now we move to the estimation of current liabilities. Creditors, wages, overheads. Here we don't have issue because it's a 1 month, whatever 1 month like data has been given here. Okay. 1 month payment material, 1 month payment for wages, 1 month payment for manufacturing, 1 month like payment for admin expenses. So it is very easy. You would say 450 divided by 12, 360 divided by 12, 480 divided by 12, 120 divided by 12 will give you your whatever expenses, creditors, wages, and overheads here. Right? Yes. Then I think is an issue on that. Right. So they say overheads, they have taken 480 plus 120, 600 divided by 12. That's why this 50,000 comes. Right. Creditors is basically 450 divided by 12. Wages 360 divided by 12. Overheads, they add up both 400 plus 120. So then 480 plus 120 is 600 divided by 12 is 50,000. So add up 3, then 117,500. So the total current liability is 117,500. Now, since we know the current assets, current liabilities, difference is the net working capital 452,500. Right? Then margin of contingencies is something 10% of that. 152,500 into 10%, it's 45,250. So the average working capital is then 497,750. That's a figure that we need to do. Right. Right. Any questions of this? Any questions? What we have done is estimation. In order to do estimation, we need to know current assets, current liabilities. Right. So current assets, when you are going to estimating, you need to know what is my stock, what is my debtors, prepaid expenses, and the cash and bank balances. When it comes to the stocks, we have RM, we have WIP, we have finished goods. But in this question, we don't have WIP. So raw material has been directly given. Finished goods, we need to do a kind of a computation. Debtors also, there is a kind of basis given. So no, not a big issue in computing that. So when you have everything, you have current assets total. Then you go to the current liability. When you go to the current liability, creditor, accrued expenses and overhead expenses, and the wages. They say how frequent you are paying, 1 month, 2 months, like that, with a lag payment. So when you have those numbers, right? When you have assets, you have liabilities. Current assets minus liability give the net working capital, right? So the net working capital. So with that, they tell us like 10% of the requirement of the net working capital. So that's a contingency. So with that, we can say this is my working capital estimation for project future. Right. How do you feel that? I know it's not straightforward. It's a bit difficult because that's a advanced sum in working capital. Right. Normally, you know that last week actually was like straightforward, right? So it's not a kind of big issue in computing whatever current ratio, quick ratio, and those computations. But when you come to this type of a question, so it is a bit advanced question, right? Any difficulty before we are undertaking a kind of another sum, so that so everybody is in kind of in a comfort zone with that. So any question? Diland, Malaka, is it okay? Any question? Oshani, Sanjeev, Are you all clear on what we have discussed? Can we move with the next sum? So which is the same type of question, but with step-by-step calculation, so we can get further understanding. So any question? Sanjeev, okay? Malaka, right, thanks. Malaka and Dilanja, Oshani, all, I think, just to get the concepts that I am fine. So then we'll move to the, yeah, thanks. I presume, Oshani, you are okay, right. So let's say when you are taking up the next question, with kind of detail, because it's in the past papers also. Let's see that, how we can get an idea further on this, right? So this is the kind of question that I have taken from 2017. It's not appearing. It's not there. It's not showing. Give me a minute. Let's see. මේ නා small thing අර අපි දැම්මනේ paper එකක් මේනක ඒක මේ first page එකේ විතරයිනේ පේන්නේ මොකක් හරි ඒක මේ මම එවනකොටම ඔව් ඔයා ගාව තියෙන එකෙත් එහෙමද පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්නකෝ right okay there's a kind of a technical issue, but until they rectify it, I will just take it up what we have done last week, just to recap it so that we will rectify it. So last week, basically, we discussed about working capital, right? You can because two of you are not there, just quickly go through. So we discussed about concepts, that is gross working capital, that is current assets minus investment in current assets. Net working capital is basically current assets minus liability, and then we discussed about operating cycle, and then net working capital cycle or cash cycle. So operating cycle was basically stock period plus debtors period. When come to the net working capital cycle or cash cycle is operating cycle minus creditors period. So basically, when you talk about the working capital, we need to know concepts like what is gross working capital, what is net working capital. Gross working capital is basically, we told that total investment in current assets. Net working capital is basically the current assets minus current liability. So you need to know those by heart and memorize for the past papers, for the exam. Then also computations are required. What is the operating cycle? What is the cash cycle? Or net working capital cycle, net working capital or working capital cycle. How we are going to compute that? Stock period plus debtor period will give the operating cycle, and then deducting creditors from the operating cycle, we can get the cash cycle. Excuse me. Hope you see the screen, right? Just conclude that and come to the question. So basically, you need to know what's gross working, net working, and how to interpret, and what the right component, you need to know that. And then operating cycle and cash cycles, yes, you need to know that. And again, I told you like when you are doing the operating and net working capital cycle, turnover period, creditors turnover period, debtors turnover period. There are 3 equations I have given, so you can do the computation. And if you have anything, please let me know, especially these two that who was taught with me last time, and see whether that it's okay. And if you do have any issue, let me know. Then what we need to know more is like liquidity and efficiency, because these are the efficiency ratios. Liquidity is basically current ratio and quick ratio, right? So current ratio, we know that current assets divided by current liability. Quick ratio is current assets minus stocks divided by current liability. We need to know that part as well. So we will discuss the liquidity efficiency in time to come also, but for the working capital, this is important. And efficiency ratio is basically these 3: STP, DTP, CTP, right? So what we have done last week is we basically discussed everything. We attempted and questions, but today we were trying to go beyond that by estimating this item: stocks, debtor, creditor, right? So just for your as a refresher for who joined last week, rest could be a kind of a quick snapshot for whoever was not with me, right? Now that is, we have got the kind of question, so we will move to that is September 2017. අර වෙලේ පොඩි අවුලක් ගියා මේ ෆස්ට් එක විතරයි page එක, right? Right. This is the kind of a question that we have been. Number 3, financial assistance needed by business for their day-to-day operations are known as working capital. Hence, working capital assessment is an important aspect in project lending. Given below is a set of data relates to manufacturing company. Turnover is 1.5 million. Cost, raw material 30%, direct labor 25%, variable overheads 10%, fixed overhead 15%, selling and distribution 5%. So we have been given turnover and the rest of the expenses also, right? Then, right. For the company, on average, debtors 2.5 for payment. It gives you how much is your debtor, 2.5 months of payment. Raw materials, 3 months stock. Work in progress, 2 months. Finished goods, 1 month production. Credit period is like this: raw material, direct labor, variable, fixed overhead, and selling and distribution. So this is, number of data has been given here. Now, assume work in progress. Assume work in progress is finished goods are valued at cost and number of weeks per year is 50. So you are required to compute 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So since that is like it's given here, so we'll take one by one and compute, right? So now here,
Sir, we can't see the presentation.
sorry, hold on. I think I haven't changed it properly. Very sorry. Now, is it clear? Sanjeev,
Still no, sir.
still not?
No.
Some
No.
issue. Something. What about now?
Now it's okay.
Okay, right. So basically, the question is just to compute working capital, but we have been given some data like turnover is 1.5, and then cost percentages has also been given, and then further, the company has given us whatever data, raw material requirements. Then we have also given some clue about how many number of weeks per annum, right? And then we are supposed to compute raw material, direct labor, right? And whatever other working capital items, right? So since that answer is also there, right? So I'll go, with explaining each slide so that you can get an idea, right? So here the first question is compute the cost incurred on RM, direct labor, variable, fixed overhead, and selling and distribution. So this is not difficult. Why? Because here under first part, it say turnover is 1.5 million, and from the turnover, there are some percentage on each item: raw material, direct labor, variable, fixed, selling and distribution. So when we are asked to compute the cost for each, it's not a big deal because 1.5 million into 30%, 1.5 million into 25%, 1.5 million into 10%. So that gives you per annum requirement of each of these items. But earlier question, it said raw material is say 450. Per annum it has been given. Here it has not been given. Instead, they given us some percentage. So 1.5 million into this, 1.5 million into 25%. So like that it has been given. So I don't see any difficulty when you are computing that. Okay. Right. That's the first part, right? So we'll see here. Raw materials 1.5 million into 30%, 450. Direct labor 1.5 million into 25%, 375. Variable 10%. Fixed overhead this much. Selling and distribution this much. So in earlier question, this has been given. Now we have been asked to compute that. Hope it's not a difficult part. මට කියන්නේ ඒකේ මොනවා හරි ගැටලුවක් තියෙනවද first part එකේ? සංජීව මාලක Dilanja, Oshani. First part is basically just asking to compute each component on working capital. Basically current assets at that. Okay, right? Okay. So then the second part is the challenge, right? Second part, they are asking, by the way, let me know any question, just, let me know, right? Second part is now we are supposed to compute the current assets. So when we are supposed to do the computation on current assets, then we need to know what is my raw material, what is my WIP, what is the finished goods, what is the debtors, right? So those are the key items in working capital, if not about cash and bank balances and prepaid expenses. Here it has not been mentioned. So we need to compute raw material, WIP, finished goods, and debtors. Right. So how we are going to compute that? Here, now when you compare, if you think about the previous, it basically you have been given per annum requirement. So we know that what's my per annum requirement. And they say it's a 1 month, you just divide by 12. Here, again, we know the per annum requirement 450, but we need to know what is the tenor. Tenor, when you go up here, it says how much? Raw material stock for 3 months. So the tenor requirement, raw material period is 3 months. එතකොට එතනදී තමයි පොඩ්ඩක් අපිට ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙන්නේ why? Because the examiner purposely given us about number of weeks per annum is 50. So 50 into 7, that is 350. ඒකයි මේ 350 කියන එක ආවේ instead of 360. How this 87 point comes? 7.5 comes. ඒක කොහොමද ආවේ? How it comes? 87.5. Because it's like we say the 3 months requirement, right? Yeah, 3 months. It's like 90 days, if technically speaking, right? Generally, it comes. Right? ඒක ආවේ මෙන්න මෙහෙම. Show that a big deal, but just wanted to get it right. It's like this. Now, say generally 3 months, again 90 days. Right? So if you take 3 months, 90 days out of 360. If it is 360 days, then 3 months is 90. In this question, we have 350. Why? Because it says 50 weeks into 7 days. So that's why I take 350. Right? So just we need to approximate whatever this 3 months period in a calendar of 350 days. What is technicality එකක් තියෙන්නේ මේක කරපු ගමන් it's come to 87.5. Like 3 months is equal to 87.5 in a 350 calendar. ඒක නිසා තමයි they have taken 350 per annum. 87.5 is so 450 is raw material requirement for year. That's 350 days. If 87.5 is our requirement. So then we will have some answer for raw material. How this 87.5 arrived is basically in a 350-day calendar, because the examiner has given us it's a 50-week year. 50 means into 7, 350 days. So generally we need to keep 3 months stock as per specification. But 3 months kila kiyane 90 days if it is a 360-day calendar. But if the 350-day calendar එකක් නම් it's 87.5. That's the kind of a portion that we need to take it. ඒ වගේ පොඩි දේවලුත් සමහරට examiner කරලා තියෙනවා, but not necessary. But anyway, since he has been given, we need to do that computation. ඒක තේරුණාද? Why the examiner has taken 87.5 instead of 90 කියන එක තේරුණා නම්, then instead of 360 he has taken 350. So that's the fraction you need to apply for this per annum requirement. Per annum requirement we have computed in the part 1. Per annum requirement එකෙන් මාස 3ක කොටස. So 3 months requirement. So 3 months requirement is 87.5 divided by 350. Because 450,000 is per annum requirement. Did you get it, Oshani, Malaka, Sanjeev, Ilanja? Thanks, Oshani. What about Sanjeev, Malaka? Please let me know that if it is not clear. So need to, because thanks. So Dilanji, you are with us, right? So I didn't hear from you, but please let me know if anything, right? Okay, so I know this is like a bit of computation, but we can't, drop these type of questions also. So whenever it comes, that we need to attempt, right? Okay. Part 2, current assets, sorry, raw materials hadagatta. Then when come to the WIP, we need to know another equation. So that is, earlier we haven't done that. So when you are trying to compute the WIP, it is neither raw material, neither finished goods. Means it's like halfway through, right? Ek raw material කියලා ගන්නත් බෑ, ඒක finished goods කියලා ගන්නත් බෑ. Right? Then we have a computation, we have an equation to compute the WIP, that is raw material plus 50% of operational expenses. That's a like equation. Now, here you need to understand what is raw material, that's given 450 per annum requirement. And then 50% of operational expenses is directly engaged in to bring the raw material to WIP. So that is labor and overheads. The fixed overheads are not coming here. So fixed overheads basically like earlier, like general administration kind of thing. It goes to finish good computation, not the WIP computation. The WIP එකට එන්නේ operational expenses මෙතන තියෙනවා, direct labor and variable overheads. So it's like raw material you get full and 50% of operational expense, 375 plus 150. So when you add up everything, it is the relevant expenditure to bring a raw material item to WIP. අපි ඒක දන්නවා. Then we need to go about what is this 58 divided by 350. That's exactly the 2 months. Our calling 3 months give 87.5 now. Its 2 month requirement is 58. 1 month is 29. 1 month 29, 2 months 58, 3 months is 87 or whatever. 87.5 කියලා අපි උඩ ගත්ත එකම තමයි. මෙතන 58 divided by 350. It's a 360 calendar එකක් නම් 58 නෙවෙයි එතෙන් 60. But that's not a big deal. I mean, depending on examiners, kind of input that we need to change that. But otherwise, that's 2 months, the 3 months, the 1 month, the half a month. So that's basically, so you can put that. The importance is how you using the equation to compute the raw material, WIP, finished goods, debtor. Okay, WIP is RM plus 50% of operational expenses. So RM is 450, 50% of operational expenses is like 375 plus 150. So when you have that and you use 58 divided by 350 will give the WIP. Any question? Anything which is not clear? You can speak up or you can put a text if it is not clear. The 58 divided by 350, it's like, it's not too worry very much. That's how the technicality comes. But if the equation is clear, that's I'm fine with you. WFP is raw material plus 50%. So whenever going forward that it's come to you, that remember, we are not getting the all expenses full, we'll get 50% of operational expenses. Next is what is operational expenses. Operational expenses is something direct. Something you put into raw materials, right? Direct labor, direct wages, or direct overheads if it is. Something which is not only the labor, let's say direct expenses, something to that, yes. But fixed general admin, which is not relevant to working capital, sorry, work in progress. Hope it's clear. Any question? Yeah, Malaka, the 50% is the equation. So that's like, it's a norm. The standard equation is you take 50% of the operational expenses into WIP computation. Why you take the 50% is it is neither raw material, neither finished goods. It's finished goods, again you take full expenses on operational plus. But raw material, you disregard that because raw material is raw material. But WIP is halfway through. There you have something, something near completion to the finished goods, something near at raw material, something halfway through. So there, if you go to the WIP in a manufacturing environment, එක stages වලට තමයි you have this WIP තියෙන්නේ. සමහර ඒවා early stage of raw material and සමහර ඒවා nearing completion of finished goods, සමහර ඒවා WIP stage එකේ තියෙනවා. So then for the to take everything into consideration, we take 50%. Half කියන එක අපි ගන්නවා. එතකොට ඒක තමයි WIP equation එක. So raw material plus 50%, half of direct labor, direct material, sorry, direct labor and direct expenses, and ek 50 එක අපි ගන්නවා. Because it means that is the expenses you incur on raw material to bring it to WIP stages. Is it clear, Malak? Right. Sanjeev, this 58 comes is, now earlier I was telling you, is 3 months now, 90 divided by 360 into 350. Here it's 2 months requirement, right? 2 months or 2.5. Just hold on. It's 2 months, right? Raw material is, WIP is 2 months requirement. So 2 months is how much? 60. 60 divided by 360 into 350. Is it end up with 58? Is it okay, Sanjeev? 58 is equivalent of number of days, 60 days. Fine, right. Very good, thanks. Then we move to the next part. Finished goods. Finished goods is basically like early example, raw material, direct labor, direct variable, and fixed overheads. It will take 1 month requirement because earlier, right? It's a 2 months requirement. Here it's a 1 month. 30 day requirement is nearly 29 days. So then you get the finished goods requirement. Raw material okay, WIP and finished goods is basically 1 month requirements. That's the 29 divided by 350. But again, we are getting raw material, direct labor, variable overheads and fixed overheads also into the equation, because there we assume when come to the finished goods stage, these expenses will be added and now we have a product. So within that product, all these expenses are being represented. Raw material, if you take one item, something, say rubber, raw material. Value add kargan, salaries and all that. So ultimately you have some, say, gloves. So gloves is the finished good. So the glove is a representation of all these expenses. So ek item finished good. These kind of items, expenses are incurred on that. So this is what the total cost until up to the finished goods. So that's why we are adding up everything to the point finished goods is making. So again telling 1 month requirements 29 divided by 350. Right. Any questions on the finished good? Malaka? Sanjeev, Dilanja? Please let me know if it is like anything is not clear. Let me know, right? Fine. And then we have to compute debtors. But let debtor here they mention about 2.5 months requirement, because it's not we need not to go to the direct method. Indirectly they say debtor 2.5 months of payment. So 2.5 months of sales because it has been given. And because we know the sales 1.5 and this is 72.5 is a 2.5 requirement, like earlier equation. 2.5 is like 30 75 days. 75 days out of 360 and out of 350 is like 72.5. That's approximation, right? So then we know the debtors also. Then we know raw material, WIP, finished goods, and debtors. So all together you add up, then you have current assets, right? This is like very fundamental question we have got so far, but it is good that so we are trying to do everything possible using this basic equation. So when you're trying to do all those things, then it's very easy for us to understand, and whenever examiner gives us, so you are in a position to compute that. Maybe in MCQ that he might ask, like, this kind of a computation, he might give, like, compute the WIP, but he might have given some expenses. WIP වලදී විතරක් RM plus 50% of operational expenses. Rest you don't have to worry. Raw material gathot, total raw material cost, finished goods gathot, all expenses up to the finished goods. But data, if not being given, then you add up the selling and distribution on top of that and do the computation. Right? Hope it's clear. If not, please let me know. I can explain it again. Then we have to go the current liabilities. Current liabilities straightforward because everything has been given. Raw material, DL, variable overheads, fixed overheads, S&D. So everything has been given. How we are going to pay? Meaning credit periods. 2 months, 1 week, 1 month, 1 month, half a month. Only thing is you need to know what is raw material, what is direct labor, what is variable overhead, what is fixed overhead, what is selling and distribution, which has been computed under part 1. Right? Part 1 case, so we have computed everything. 450, 375, 150, 225, 75,000. We have these numbers. Then what we need to know is this the equivalent of 2 months, 1 week, 1 month, 14 days. A requirement equivalent that is maybe kind of approximate. 60 days he can come with 58. So 1 week he takes 7, right? 2 weeks actually it should be 14, but he said 14.5 or so. And that's what, right? It's a 2 weeks. Yeah, half a month, no? Half a month it could be ideally 14, but he has taken 14.5. That's not a big deal. But just, he has taken the equivalent for 350-day calendar. So with that, you can compute the creditor balance. 450 is the raw material and 58 divided by 350. So like that, you end up with 160 to 150. That's a current liability. If you know the current assets and if you know the current liability, just reduce the liabilities from assets. That will be the working capital requirement. And some assumption is like, fixed overhead not part of the operational cost. That's the assumption. Best to mention that because sometimes there may be part variable in the fixed overheads, but here we assume fixed overheads are not the operational cost. Debtor we calculated based on the sales value because debtor can be calculated in the direct method also. As I told you, debtor could be raw material plus all the expenses including sales distribution. So we have not taken. We may consider answers as correct the rounding off to zeros or 0.5 values in calculating number of days. That's why I am saying sometimes you might take 88 days instead of 87.5. instead of you take 14, instead of 14 and a half. So examiner has that leeway for us to when marking papers, but no worries about numbers and all that. But only thing is concepts is clear, then we are fine with that, right? Because that's the kind of most advanced sum in terms of working capital, because we might repeat this when we undertake past paper questions, but I don't want to wait until that time, because since that we have done it in different sum in the last week and even continuing this week. So I wanted to take this also, so that everybody in the same platform, that you have an idea about how we do like working capital computation for existing business, which I just explained. This is like more easy, right, where you have existing and you need to know how to calculate liquidity and efficiency ratios and interpret what is total working capital, gross working capital, net working capital, and again cash cycle, operating cycle. So those are very easy part. The same thing could be come for the projection, like forecasting also, estimation, which we have done, right? For that, actually, we have done 2 questions that you can do it again and again and see whether any sort of difficulties, please let me know, so that even we can discuss it at the past paper question discussions, which I'm planning to take it up at the end of the session, right? Any questions? Okay, all good. So today evening is the paper, right? Today evening we have development financing, I suppose. So I also don't think that it may be a difficult paper, like it could be like last or previous papers, but I heard some papers bit difficult. Last week actually was not a kind of difficult, but yesterday somebody was telling some papers were difficult. Is anybody was attempting papers to like next week also? All right, Ocean, you were telling that you have a paper. Malaka, Sanjeev, you are not attempting any papers, right? Dilanja? You are attempting papers on June, right? The next exam will be like June, I presume. Malaka, you have today afternoon. So are you going to sit the development financing? Oh, great. Last subjects, no worries. Like, I think you have done enough work on that. May not be so difficult. I think you have referred last 2-year papers, that would be sufficient. And maybe some kind of questions relating to moratorium kind of thing would be in the cards. Just go through it. I mean, I don't see that you have enough time, but maybe kind of some moratorium concessions and all that will be question, most probably, because how it has been on the cards and for the near future, and about SIG projects, NPL kind of thing, and those maybe even SME are something we are frequently getting. Maybe tested it again, but there may be repetition of MCQs and all that also, like because it's a like maybe 10-15% is like repeat questions, so maybe on MCQ and rest. And I think you are okay with working capital and break even and NPV calculations, right? There may be, but not many questions. Like if you take all the other papers also, that what I heard is not many sort of mathematical, like quantitative type questions, but we never know. But I think it's good that you prepare with NPV and all sort of thing as well, because normally those are part of the question paper. So any issue, Malaka, that you want to clear? I think you don't have much time, but if anything that I will take some time out of after that, and then we'll have a quick chat. If you have anything, please give me a call, because I'm free for 10 to 10:30. If anything to get it clear, please give me a call, and so we'll have a quick chat. Right. So that's it about working capital. And then since that you don't have any questions, that I'll move to next session, that is done financial tools. But again, since that we have done some couple of main areas, Sanjeev, since I think you have been with us about last session, please go through and go to Tuts and even YouTube presentation. Please let me know anything that if you want to get it clarified. Oceany, you were not with me about last week and previous week. Also get the, I think I just brief about working capital. If time permits, we'll discuss about, briefly about the break even. If not, go through and let me know if anything that you have any questions, because break even, working capital are very important areas, like every time they are questioning, right? So then we move to today's question. Yeah, today basically I have given you like 4 presentations that is about non-financial tools, SWOT, PESTEL, Porter's 5 forces, and the BCG growth models, right? So since that we have limited time for today, we'll start with the SWOT analysis, and then we will continue the rest in the next week, right? So before moving to this, I just wanted to take a kind of overview of what we understand in non-financial tools. In general, in project financing, right, as I told you, that we need to undertake several feasibilities, viabilities, right? So before to say that, project is okay to proceed, okay to be funded by a bank. So there are the feasibilities like financial feasibility, management feasibility, technical, operation. There may be several items that you need to come up and say, this is, we are happy with this each item. Now, what we have done so far is like break-even analysis and the break-even analysis and the working capital. It is relevant to financial feasibility. We need to do financial statement analysis, ratio analysis, and forecasting, and investment tools also as a part of financial feasibility. We are planning to do in time to come. Fine. In addition, I told you like there may be some management, technical, operational, market, so on and so forth. There are so many other feasibilities also to be happy or to be in a kind of acceptable level to proceed with the project. So when you say those feasibilities, then how can we say those are acceptable level? For that, we need some kind of tools to be used to assess the particular feasibility. So in that context, SWOT, PESTEL, BCG, Porter's, like rest is like, generic strategies about product life cycle, right? So many tools that we can use. And by using those, then we come and tell, yes, using SWOT, I have done a kind of analysis. So based on that, we are happy with the management analysis or management style of the company, or we are happy with the market. So like that, so we can get an idea by applying this different models. Okay. So basically, sorry. Basically, in SWOT analysis, we are, try to understand in a company, in a firm, right? What could be like internal factors? What could be the external factors? So internal factors, we try to come up with strengths and weaknesses. Internally, we try to find some strengths and weaknesses. Externally, we try to find what are the opportunities and threats, right? So in a kind of internal environment, let's say technology, about net worth, about expertise, right? And the finances are kind of thing that, you know, you can think about and say, this is strong, this is bad, like that. Say if you are working in a bank, let's say you are working in a, maybe say Sampath Bank, for example. Then you can come up and say, so we are very, you know, digital savvy, tech savvy, right? We are very much in terms of, you know, par with new technological products, services, right? So you are innovator kind of thing. That's like it's an identity for Sampath, for example. Say if you take in a commercial bank, so you might say, so we are very good at export. So we have very good base of customers in export sector. So nobody can come and say, no, we are better than the commercial. We may not be able to, because you have been, you know, having that kind of portfolio. So that extent, so everybody says, you know, when you talk about the, I mean, the private banking sector, right? So export, yes, they are. Then, for example, HND. So probably they might say, you know, we also like a very, you know, good in terms of maybe microfinancing side, right? A small lending. Other banks also does, but when you take the commercial bank portfolio, like HME is in H in terms of micro type of businesses like that. So some kind of, you know, positive, right? They have that, you know, a competitive edge against the rest. It could be a strength, which is internal. Similarly, the weakness is also there. So some bank would come and say, so we have a workforce, but their, you know, average credit exposure is maybe 4 year, 5 year compared to 10 year in the bigger banks. So it's a weakness. So we have some technologies like processes and all that, which is not up to the industry benchmark. So that's a weakness. So like that, internal factors you can classify as strength and weakness. External, it's like opportunities and threats. Like when you see outside, what are the opportunities available? Like if these days, you know, the government is very much concerned on export side. So very much, you know, focus on agri, very much focus on local economy. So those are opportunities. If you are a bank, so you need to, you know, develop some products aiming, say, export driven, agri driven, local production driven. So that's an opportunity for you to have, right? Maybe threat is something like, you know, interest rates is now coming down because of various fiscal and monetary policies taken by the central bank. And you see a drop in interest rate. It's a threat for you. Because why? Because sometimes you can't keep the customers, because now lowering deposits, in the sense, one way it's good that you can have more borrowings, but you can't get the deposits into the bank. They might go to the share market, they might go to the real estate sector like that. So it's a kind of a threat. So it's basically, it's coming out. It's from the outside. So you need to understand what are these internal, what are the external. To complement that, when you talk about the external, opportunities and threats is further scanned, identified, studied through pestle analysis also, right? Where basically you can do a better job than SWOT using pestle to scan the external environment. So basically the SWOT analysis is something where you are trying to gauge, get an idea about internal and external factors with respect to a firm, with respect to a company, with respect to a project, by identifying strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats. That's what basically the SWOT analysis is. Sorry. Right. It's a structured analytical framework, can be used in together with Pestle, Porter's, and some other non-financial tools. It helps to focus strength, limitations, and opportunities in more promising direction. Quick and easy to learn. Because why I am telling this is sometimes in question papers, they might ask us to define SWOT tool. Then you can use this slide 1 and slide 2 just to define the SWOT. What is SWOT? Where we are going to use this? Why this is important? Whether we can use this with other non-financial tools. That's what basically you write maybe 2-3 lines. Okay. Then we go one by one. So the first one is the strength. So strengths are basically what are the positive, what are the competitive advantage you are having against your competitors, right? And then which you have a control, right? These are something that we feel strength. So the next slide we will discuss some examples for the strength, right? Sorry, you don't have, I'll explain one or two here. But again, you need to remember now, when you say you are telling it's a strength, but when you're comparing it with somebody, it may not be a strength for you. Example, now you say you are in a Sampath Bank and you say, I have a good branch network. I have, more than 300 branches. Say you might tell him that it's a strength for me. Somebody would tell absolute yes, it's yes. But now we'll say you are comparing the Sampath versus say commercial, Sampath versus HNB. Now in relatively, having 300 branches is a strength? Oh no, it is not. Because HNB also might have 300 branches. Commercial also might have 300 branches. Then you can't say that, comparing Sampath. So comparing HNB, comparing commercial, having 300 branches is a strength. No, it's not a strength. So that you need to be careful, right? Because now, absolutely yes, absolute perspective, it's a strength. Similarly, say you are learning now, say banking, and you do a kind of a degree, and when you, let's say you've done MBA or like that, so you might say that I have MBA, right? When you say MBA, so somebody would say it's a good qualification, right? It's a professional, so it's good, that kind of. But when you go for an interview, now the rest of applicants also, maybe 3 or 4, having MBAs. No, but now is there any like strength for you now going forward? No, it's no more. Right? Then you need to capitalize on. Let's say you have a MBA on maybe Javadarpur University, Colombo compared to less affiliated foreign. So then you have a bit of edge, and then you have to market yourself what you have done using the MBA. So that again, whatever strength or weakness, opportunities, etc., all are relative. That you need to keep in mind, right? Absolutely, yes, it's good, but when you comparatively, it may not be a strength for you. But how you are going to do is like, you need to understand what are your core strength, core competencies. So you need to take a paper and write it one by one and see whether, so this is like a positive, this is like strength I have, my company, my unit. And then you compare with, let's say, another unit, another department, another institution. Exactly what is my strength. So those are, then I need to work on that. Then I can, compete with the particular entity or particular organizations in a competition. That has to be kept in mind. Weakness. The other way around is basically a flip side. Let's say, when you say it's my strength, similarly, it could be your weakness also, right? Say, its example is like, now you say a very good world-class technology. And then you say with a huge investment, you are going to automate your whatever, all your operations, right? But again, when you compare with your peers, compare with your competitors, so in the industry wide, you need not to have that much of investment, that much of requirement. It's again now, somebody can see this as a weakness, right? Because we have used your all financial resources to bring your platform, bring your infrastructure very high, technology advanced status, which is not a requirement for your clientele. But if you are in US, yes. But if in Sri Lanka, it's not required. But it's a weakness. And that you need to be very careful. Similarly, like inherent weaknesses, say you don't have adequate branches, you don't have adequate capital, lack of cohesive workforce, right? Maybe it's not very user-friendly system and processes are some weaknesses. When again you are comparing with your competitor, you see as what are the negative points. So these are weaknesses in a firm or entity. Opportunities are something which is coming out of environment. Based on what your strengths and weaknesses, that you can think and see outside what is available. It could come in from changes of the customer taste and preferences, from the competition, global demand, technological changes, government initiatives, like I was just mentioned. So they are coming and existing in out. So need to see those opportunities, whether it's relevant to you, applicable to you, right? So some I have been given science and technology development, changes of market, government policy, so many things. So depending on the project, depending on the institution, you need to understand what is available. Now let's say, again, personal experience. Now you see, you are, capitalized, working, you have getting experience, qualification, and all that. So during this period, now you see what are the job opportunities outside there, which is matching to my profile. Maybe in terms of salary, career advance, different, requirements could be met when, outside the economy, banking sector are booming. So like that, so you need to see opportunities. But again, you try to link with your strengths and weaknesses. Some of the opportunities could be used to minimize your weaknesses. Some of strengths can be used to explore the opportunities. So that's how we are going to make your strategy. Strategies strengths opportunities grab threats minimize outside opportunities can be used to minimize the weaknesses which you have inside you are having it. So like that, this is how the strategies that you are going to do. But first you need to understand what is S, W, O, and the threats. Threats could be coming from competitor, coming from government issues, coming from globally system, technological issue, customer taste preferences changes. So many things could come outside. Now these days you can see, with this pandemic, COVID-19, Easter Sunday, have a huge impact on your P&L, NPL, provisioning, share prices, rating. Now we are mandatory moratorium, so you are losing income. So threats, right? So it's beyond your control sometimes. And on top of that, government's taking, some decisions about, controlling something, controlling imports kind of thing. So many things which have an impact. So probably you don't understand what are those threats. So basically we need to know what is S, what is W, what is O, what is T. So when you know this, then we can design what are our next strategies, right? In order to capture, in order to, make the markets explode, right? So we have a class exercise. So since that we don't have a time here, so I expect 4 of you to do select a bank, say you are working. So you can say HNB, you can commercial, Sampath, like that. And since we can't form a group here, so come up with some S, W, O, and T, right, next week. So we'll discuss those things together, so to help tell it. So just always think when you are talking about, say, commercial bank, for example, you compare with, say, HNB, compare with Union. Take a maybe government bank. It's easy. So take commercial versus the Bank of Ceylon, HNB versus the Bank of Ceylon, Sampath versus the Bank of Ceylon. It's like take 2 and you see that what are your strengths as against commercial, as against Bank of Ceylon, as against People's Bank. So have some 3 strengths, 3 weaknesses, 3 opportunities, 3 threats. So based on that, so we can discuss it further on the SWOT analysis. I don't see this is the kind of a different tool, but only thing is I just wanted to make this more practical, because I have seen some past papers that they have specifically asked about what is SWOT and what's like importance and what is PESTEL, and compare the SWOT and PESTEL. So like that. So we'll have that ready next week. So please remind me that I have given you a kind of a homework, so that so otherwise I forget, then everybody would forget. But make sure that you do it at home, and depending on your time, that don't take much time on that. Just take 2 or 3 points and then come up with the kind of an answer. Right. So any question on the SWOT? I don't see it's like difficult area, right? So what I will do is, since that I'm not going to start the PESTEL right now, because we have 15 minutes to go, and since I have a chat with you on the working capital, I will quickly go through the previous work on the that is work break even, for the benefit of Sanjeev and Oshani, and also like Dilanja, please excuse me, Malaka, you are also sitting today's paper, so I'll just give a kind of briefing on the maybe break even, so that could be useful, right? I presume you can see the board. So basically, in the break even, that what we need to know is this one. This is the break even chart, the quantity, revenue, and cost. Right? We have discussed that there is a cost component which is not going to change with the quantity. We call it a fixed cost, and there is a variable cost which is going to change with the quantity for the each unit. That is variable cost. So then, when you have fixed cost and variable cost, so we have a total cost curve. That's how the cost is arrived. Then similarly, when we are increasing the sales, you have revenue, so we will have the total revenue curve. So there is an intersecting point, right? We call this is break even quantity, break even volume. Here rupees. Malaka, especially sometimes that the examiner would ask the questions, what is break even, quantity, and the volume. Remember, have to have two answers there. So up to the break even, you are in a loss because your total revenue is lower than the total cost. Beyond the break even, you have total revenue is higher than the total cost, so you have profits. So this is the break even chart. You need to know to define this when the examiner asks the break even concept, right? Then I told you there are some equations that you need to know. That is, the first one is break even formula. Is basically fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. Fixed cost generally will be given. Contribution per unit is basically selling price per unit minus variable cost per unit. Right? These are the two equations that we need to know. Third one, we learn, that is margin of safety, that is budgeted sales or actual sales minus break-even sales or. Here, margin of safety is the budgeted sales or actual sales minus break-even sales. Here you can mention as units or rupees. Right? This is the third equation. How you represent this, the that margin of safety here is like this. This part is margin of safety, because margin of safety is the figure where up to what point you can bring down the volume to make profit or loss, right? So if the actual sales, if the budgeted sales here, so from there to there you can bring down without any impact to your profit. And then you are making a loss. So the margin of safety is, you say, budgeted to actual sales minus break-even sales, right? Fourth equation is quantity at target profit is equal to fixed cost divided by methane contribution per unit. In addition, we add here target profit. Make a competition. This is the important equation. If examiner would give us the break even, this would be a sure part. Here, instead of fixed cost, here we add a target profit. So fixed cost plus target profit divided by contribution per unit will be your quantity produced to achieve that particular target profit. That's the fourth part, fourth equation, right? Break-even formula, contribution formula, margin of safety, target profit. The one more equation, that is PV ratio, price volume ratio, profit volume ratio, that is contribution per unit divided by sales per unit. PV ratio is basically contribution per unit divided by sales per unit, selling price per unit. Selling price per unit. So these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equations that you need to remember in my presentation, so everything is clear. But especially if you are preparing on this, you need to be thorough with all this. If anything, let me call and if get it clear before you go in. But I know that it's sure because we have done it. If there is a break-even question, obviously there will be. For Oshani and Sanjeev, yes, you can refer, and these are the equations we discussed, and go through this, and if anything, please let me know. One last point is that when you are discussing and everything is subject to some limitation. So break-even formula is being used subject to some limitations. So that in my presentation, there are 4 or 5 points. That is, Malaka, it's important for you because sometimes he might ask about what are the disadvantages, advantages, or limitations kind of thing. So remember that and write it. Like all sales, whatever produce going to be sold, there's a only fixed and variable cost. This very short term, right? There is a one product or product mix is not going to change. So there are some kind of limitations which we describe, right? That is all about the break-even. We have done some examples during the class, but no worries. We will take that when we undertake past paper questions in later. But I just wanted to give a kind of a brief overview on what we have done during previous weeks, so that you are everybody in a kind of a same platform when we are proceeding. So just have these 5 equations in memory and this graph and the limitations that in break-even computation, right? That's it. What we have done previous work. I think I explained you about what we have done last week. That is about working capital. So today we briefly discussed about SWOT analysis, and I ask you to do a kind of SWOT analysis, your bank versus another competitor like government bank, and if time permits, please do a kind of effort and bring it next week when we maybe 4 of you together. So we will try to make a kind of some further internalizing of the concepts. So that's it. Any questions from your end? Malaka, anything that you need to get cleared? shutdown point in the right. There was a question on the break even, right? So again, Malaka, that question actually a bit of confused one. So at that time, so we supposed to give marks on the question also, because which is not very clear on the particular question. Something shutdown points, like it's like let's say you are trying to continue a business, and halfway through, if you presume that you are going to close the operations, and what could be the cost that you incur, right? Example, let's say the fixed cost, for example, now let's say 400,000 kind of fixed cost, irrespective you continue or not, then there may be incurred cost on that, right? But variable cost, yes, you can stop at that time. Then we have to see what is our expected loss in terms of shutting down the business, right? So there's a one question actually that I didn't take it up last week or previous week. Plan to do it under past paper questions, because it's like a bit of confused also, but differing answers. You know, students were given marks because it was not so clear. But when you say a shutdown scenario, so you have to see whether what is my sales, because sales cannot be taken count after the shutdown. Variable cost again stop at that point, but a fixed cost to continue. You getting my point? So at the shutdown, whether you take a shutdown decision or not will be a question here. But let's say fixed cost of maybe 400,000 for per year, but you are closing down your business in the 6 months, then whatever the turnover you have, whatever the variable cost, then you have a contribution minus whatever the future fixed cost will be your loss or profit. That is what the shutdown point scenario is. But I think you are referring a question which is not very much clear, even the suggested answers. But if you do have anything, please, we will discuss after the class. But I will give my number. Basically, shutdown is basically at the point of closing down, what are the costs that you are getting? What are the income sources that you are getting? And then you see which is, decision is correct or not. Because sometimes even better you continue, right? Because now, let's say rather than closing down in the June, better you continue with the December, because then at least part of the fixed costs that you can absorb, the loss could be minimum. You getting my point? Because still you are generating some contribution. That is, say, sales minus variable cost. You have some contribution. June in a other close karot, say other 300,000 is the total contribution for 6 months. But you have some 400,000 fixed cost. That's incurring for a year, maybe the rent or whatever. So other way close karot, 100,000 is a losing for you. But if you're continuing, instead of 300,000 by 6 months, by end of another 6 months, you end up with not another 300. It could be something 500,000, maybe 200,000 that you can achieve. But again, then 500,000 minus 400,000, that's 100,000 is a profit if you're continuing in the year end. So shutting down decision we decide based on the operation. That was the kind of the general idea about shutting down, but that question may not exactly clear on some of the areas. Right. So having said that, so planning to wind it up for today. And again, thank you very much for joining me. And so we are meeting as usual next Sunday. And Malaka, wish you all the very best for today's paper. And Oshani, again, wish you all the very best for your paper on next Saturday. Right, so we'll meeting on Sunday as usual. And if time permits, take effort on the question on SWOT analysis, and then we'll discuss it on Sunday. And see whether since after next week, expect that Malaka to leave from us, right? Because it's the last paper. I know for sure that you can do it. So let's see, right? So whether we will losing one, some of you, that's for the better for you, right? So let's see that how the things would go. And again, have you a very bright week and safe week ahead. So we'll meet on next Sunday, right? Thank you so much.